September 6th, board meeting order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board? For a second time, is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board? For a third and final time, is there anyone from the public who would like to address the board? Seeing none, public portion is closed at 6:03. We'll move on to administration status of school days.
Good evening, everybody. Just to give you a few updates, I have to tell you the opening of school this year was very smooth. It went smoothly in all 9 buildings. We had approximately 5,909 children. There's a few pending right now, registration. I think that's a couple hundred up from last year. It's spread across all grade levels, so it's not like one grade level is being hit. We have approximately 38 new teachers to the district. We're still interviewing for a couple positions. I know there's 2 music teacher positions that we're looking into right now, but we're interviewing for, I think that's Haley and Forrest. Overall, most of our positions are filled except for food production. PRs, we're looking for a few PRs, but we did pretty well getting staff for this new year. We're going to be doing a presentation in a few minutes about our summer programs, which were very, very successful. You've seen pictures being posted when you came in about the summer program. I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue this next year with funds. But I have to tell you, the teachers were amazing during the summer, as you can see by all that showed up to share. And I think mindset was that if, you believe in the children, they're going to learn, and that's exactly what the mindset was all summer, was to get them better prepared for the new school year. And our focus this year is not just on the academics, again, it's on the SEL, the social emotional learning. And we're putting a few workshops in on that, and we'll really focus on that, because without that, the children not probably, but the children have a hard time adjusting. So that's our focus, and I'm going to turn it over in a minute to the people that really did a nice job this summer. And I want to tell you, as soon as you finish, you can go. I know you're responsible. That's okay, so don't worry about saying.
As you get started, I just want to let you know that I have in my other life, I love to see one cheer and football program, and I've heard from multiple parents that their kids had so much fun they didn't even realize they were there. So that's all to you. That's what we make it a little easier.
It was all based on science and math, so it's all about science and math. Right? Sorry. Okay, I just want to introduce my team for the programs that are under my supervision, and they're going to be coming up here presenting. They put a lot of hours and time into these programs, and they were very successful. I have Linda Burton here. She's going to talk to you about the K4 Academy. I have Mara Bailey, my assistant bilingual director, that's going to talk to you about the 7-8 EL program, and Lisa Pombadella from the high school is going to talk to you about the EL program 9-12. And then I have Jerry Mitchell and Jermaine Trencher here, and they were my forensics camp directors or runners. Everything. So we're going to start with the EL, and we are looking to get
So I was the director of the EL Academy this year. We doubled our program in size, so we invited 198 students. So we have 198 students enrolled this year. We had 4 science-based themes: food, body, solar system, and plants. Every lesson had reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking incorporated into it. This year, we added the addition of a gym class, and that incorporated MEL, which was movement with learning, and the students had a really good time. Our gym teacher did a really great job with all the activities, And it worked out to be about every 3 days, each student got to go to gym because there were 17 classes and about he saw about 6 classes a day in the schedule. And so this year we had 1 gym teacher. We were lucky enough to get 3 reading teachers who had a schedule, so they saw each class was serviced each day with a reading teacher. 17 classrooms, and each classroom not only had a classroom teacher, but some kind of support staff, either EL or a SPED teacher who had been hired this year. So we're really excited, and that was really successful. So we had the fire department came this year, which was really exciting, and then we did a lot of activities in the cafeteria. So we had a yoga day, and we had a book, like a book tour, and we got to take books home. And they had another day where they did a music. One of the teachers, Caitlin Morrissey, plays the ukulele, so the kids came in and listened to music and got to sing along with her. They had a really great time. That was our. Any questions? All right, thank you.
So this is our first year to do the EL Academy at Bailey School. We had 42 students attending in grades 5 through 8. 10 of our refugees from Afghanistan participated in our program. Our curriculum focus was they learned about Long Island Sound. They actually got to take a trip to the beach one day, and they learned about different aspects of Long Island Sound. The kids really enjoyed that. It's amazing to know how many kids live in West Haven and haven't visited the beach, so they definitely deserve that opportunity. We learned about recycling. The kids were given the chance to take home recycling bins, and they learned, you know, they didn't know what recycling was, many of them, so it's good to have them introduced to that. Stacey G. Quinto was a guest speaker, and she came in and she taught lessons to all of the children about recycling, and she does a great hands-on activity. They also learned about plants. They planted a small garden outside, and the kids really enjoyed that. They watered their plants, and I see them coming back to those plants now during the year, and they tell their friends. We planted those in the summer. And we worked on vocabulary and oral expression. We had a lot of students that were brand new to West Haven, to the United States. So that was our focus. We had 4 content area teachers, and we had 1 reading teacher, and we had 1 bilingual tutor. And the kids really enjoyed the program. Like you said, that the kids were super happy, and they didn't know they were learning, but they certainly were.
There are classrooms, portables are daily, so we can end up visiting the plants to play outside. Off the steps, really.
And Rusty, again.
Hi, good evening. I'm Marisa Gambardella. I'm the EL department head at the high school, and I'm joined this evening by 2 of the other teachers who assisted with the EL Academy at the high school this summer. This was actually the 2nd year that we offered this to our students. So a little bit of a background to who this program was offered. At the high school right now, we have 189 students that are identified as English learners. And when they come in, we separate them into 2 groups. Students who we identify as needing daily assistance with their English language proficiency in order to access the curriculum, and those students who do not. So the program was open to the students that we see on a daily basis. We see approximately 81 students daily within the program, and it was open to those students. Right now, 64% of those students are native Spanish speakers, and 23% speak 1 of 2 languages that originate from Afghanistan. In the summer of 2021, which was the first year that we did this, we offered the program as a result of seeing an increase in the number of SNIPE students who have come in. So students with significant or limited interrupted formal education, and also as a result of the pandemic. So we, as a group, felt like this needed to be offered to our students. Currently, approximately 20% of the students that we see daily have experienced a significant life event or circumstances that put them at least 2 years behind where you would expect them for their grade level. And actually, the majority of students coming in that are identified as SLIFE are coming with a primary grade level education. So this program was open to those students that received daily. Going to what we did this past year, so 26 students attended this program. 14 of those students were from Afghanistan, and we focused on the area of energy. What is it and how does it move through our environment? We really wanted to have students, give the students an opportunity to work with exposure to ideas and concepts that are present in the high school curriculum, and encourage them to think critically and use the knowledge that they have and use it in different situations. At the same time, these students are still learning English, and we also work to develop their vocabulary knowledge, their oral and written expression, their nonfiction reading skills, and being able to follow oral and written directions. You can see some of the topics we addressed during this program. Students were dropping plastic eggs into containers of flour to investigate the relationship between objects' mass and energy. We created indoor solar ovens to look at the transformation of one form of energy to another. And at the same time, we learned that many of the students had either never heard of or never eaten a s'more. So there was a lot of education all around. On the last day of the program, we gave all students a feedback form where we encouraged them to provide us with information and feedback about their experience. And if you have ever dealt with teenagers, you know that they were not, they did not go back, exactly. Yes. Yeah, you can show it. So this was some of the feedback that they did give to us. When we asked them what was your favorite part of the program, they enjoyed many areas of the program, and it's our hope that in the future that we may be able to provide a summer program or continue to provide a summer program to our students. In addition, although it's not included anywhere here, we did find that one of the barriers that we had to participation was the need for students who wanted to participate, but they found themselves in a position that they needed to contribute financially to their families during the summer months. So it is our hope that perhaps in the future, there may be the opportunity to look at providing additional programs during the school year that will provide or allow a greater number of students to participate.
I'm just super impressed with the whole EL Academy in general, because I know I read a bio of a former student that was in the EL Academy when she came here, who was a student at your university. So the leaps and bounds that they make thanks to you guys. Right, I get you.
Yeah, and we keep growing. The population is growing, and we just got a report back. I know we'll have a presentation about that. One of our last one stores, we'll see growth. We'll talk about the state average. Next, we'll present it, we'll just give it away. Okay. I think Lego was next, and then we went to
So we were fortunate enough this year to offer a Lego camp for students who were entering grades 5 through 8. We were very purposeful in targeting the middle school grades because that's where the learning becomes more challenging, and especially girls tend to get down on themselves and think they're not good at math, they're not good at science or any kind of computer coding or programming, that they may have a talent there, and the stigma that goes with that. So my team, I have Maria Del Vecchio, who is a math coach at Bailey Middle School, and Bo Kamakowski, who is a math coach at Kerrigan and Bailey, helping this year. And the two of them really worked together, collaborated with me, with our team of teachers, and we developed this 1-week intensive program that I'm gonna have them share. And thank you to Kim, because Kim was actually here and she was able to walk with me and see the kids engaged in the learning and the excitement and just everything that went into it. And I'd like to thank the board and Assistant Superintendent Dresnick and Superintendent Cavallaro for their support, because we did have to use some funding to purchase some kits that we now have in district to supplement and continue that growing that passion of science and mathematics for our students. So I'm going to invite Maria and Bo up to talk about the camp and then answer any questions that you guys might have.
So speaking of that, now that we own the Lego kits, so the goal was kind of to bring it back into the schools and stuff. It is a program that involves all of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We didn't quite get into all of those areas, depending on the teacher. However, it is a fully purchased program online for those students. So I hope we can figure out a way to get it into the classroom as well as using it. The kids came off of us, they were running towards their classes, and we thought, you know, they're building Legos, and they have what are called builds, and they go on the computer themselves, and they work through the build, and then they test it, and they test it. And I think a lot of teachers thought, well, how many times do we do that? Here, and then take them off the break, and then come back and say, we're doing another build, and they didn't. They wait to do the next build. That's how many times you can recreate just one of the original build. For example, I'm going to show you one offer. And so this thing that little bit and a student can take that, put their own spin on it as many times as they want. And that's where their own creativity came in, so they weren't held back. So I think if you walked around, you saw teachers sitting down, and kids were all engaged, and they would come over to the teacher with things. So that the teacher was doing nothing. Because the kids were doing all of the work. It was like, I mean, I have 37 years here on West Haven, and that was probably the best 5 days of my career at that camp. What? First day and last. So they came in, but even, you know, we saw the kids coming too, and they came off of us after. It was just, it was inspiring to do that, because you get after this many years of teaching, a couple years of that, it's tough. And see these kids come in, a lot of them are on the autism spectrum, and they're very quiet in class, but sometimes, and they were not quiet, and they were engaged, and when they came back to school, they could see teachers that were there that were already so it was remarkable. We did have some students.
So tell me something that you really liked about this week. What I really liked about this week of Lego Camp was probably all the amazing things that we did build and design code. So that we could like actually get to see it move with. It was just so fun for us. Thank you. What was fun for you? What was your favorite build?
I liked that we had the same instructions, but everyone made something different. It shows how everyone has a different style.
Awesome. All right, so what would you say was something that was bad about this school?
I would say like running the code in your computer class, but like now that we figured out what we use that code for, it makes that a lot more fun. So,
How about for you?
I said the same thing as Ethan. Rather than go to code, at first, how we did was, not those parts. But then as we progress, we get to know, what it does, and what it has. And probably also.
You're not the only one. All right.
I work in IT and I feel the same way.
Joey, what was something you liked about this course?
Is that the code is very complex. While you may think that at first it goes a basic way, when you actually test it out, you actually are like, oh, no, especially when you have to go back and do something.
For me, Code Board basically set you up to do this entertaining program from like something that is popular these days. By yourself or with a partner, it's very entertaining.
Thank you very much.
We're hiring, by the way. He's one of them that came back to school and every time he sees me, it's so impressive.
So what did you like about this class?
I liked engineering
And how about you? What did you like about it?
I really like that. You get so many ideas just from one class.
And what was something that you didn't like about this class?
I wish they closed the class in school.
How about you, Tracy?
I would say the same thing as Austin.
Thanks, guys.
You know, I showed them on purpose because they both, you know. The application is incredible. What they have to do, they were blowing me away. I was asking them what they would be asking some of the fourth graders, and this little thing that took me back and forth, what are you doing? We have the program that counts how many times the marble rolls back and forth until it leaves the maze. Talk about, you can see.
Yeah, there's somebody else in another program talking about gardening. One of the kids, one of the builds we actually did was to link into the Wi-Fi. Get that we don't have to water our plants. Computer type that. Build years and bear dollar move. It's like money is how much watering up the water plant. Here and then awesome programs that you guys also work hard on. They all kind of fit together. The other building they did were as far as helping out with sports, like they build a bill and how to go to delete it. It's and then you record it and then you get it on a graph. It's made it safe that they use additional statements to find out when the lock is safe, when the open is safe. They had life hacks, which you'll know kids love. There are a million builds you could do with one kit, like Maria was saying. When they first saw the kit, they thought after one build they were done. On the last day, they decided to say, forget what we had planned, let's let the kids pick what they want to build. And they went back to one of the builds that they built on Monday. And they spent 4 hours trying to navigate and write the code to make this one robot get to the end. Up and down tables to get to the finish line. Out of the robot because they wanted to tell everybody that they were the champions. And they wanted to prize. But the best part was at the end of the camp, because that was only 5 days, and the next one was longer. Each child went home with a personalized learning kit. So it was a sealed box from Lego that they were given for free, went home and they could paint some kids on their own. Hopefully the little brothers and sisters got a hold of it.
We always have forensics. We always have, the first day was hectic, to sell the box here, and the back way. That's what I was. That was their first day.
So tell me something that you really liked about this.
Is that the code is very complex. While you may think that at first it goes a basic.
It's your turn.
So we did the forensic camp. We worked really hard. We actually did a forensic camp last year. It was the first time we ever did it. And so we were hoping that we would get students back this year, and we did.
So what we had done was we actually like rewrote kind of the curriculum. So we had one curriculum for our first week for the younger kids and 6th graders, and then we redesigned week 2. So if we had any kids come back, they could actually potentially take it either 5th or 6th grade, and then a different course in 7th and 8th grade. So we designed each week, and we kind of had more beginner stuff the first week, and then we built upon it the second week. You see some of the stuff that we covered. Each week started with crime scene. That was our
Two different crime
two
scenes.
different crime scenes. That was the first week. Was 4th and the Lopez.
Yes, and
But we did like the basics of fingerprinting that week, blood spatter, shoe print analysis. And then we kind of went into blood typing, but took it a little bit further the second week. Everything we talked about in the second week. And anthropology.
Yeah, we did a little bit more with blood spatter, and we actually, the second week, instead of them just making prints, now they kind of got into the nitty gritty of actually pulling prints, and then, you know, had to find those 16 points of similarity to say it was this person and not this person. So we really introduced them to all of those things, measurements. They had to map out crime scenes. They had multiple crime scenes the second week, only one crime scene the first week. We did forensic anthropology with them. So they got to look at different skulls, and they had to try and identify whose skull was the person who was in the crime, and then what actually happened to them based on the injury to the skulls. So it was a lot of fun. We talked about math, and we had guest speakers every single day, 12 weeks.
One of the teachers is one of the math teachers here, and there's now a math.
We have a cohort. So we have a cohort here, the criminal justice cohort, which we also see these students as kind of funneling in and wanting to take that criminal justice cohort. And we actually did have students say, you know, I was going to go to Worldton Hall, but I'm coming to high school now. Yes.
And we did a lot of graphing with the blood spatter, and even just like reading things out on the crime scene. Like, you don't realize how sometimes you use math in different ways. Especially in crisis, there's so many different ways to just apply math. So it wasn't just like, let's do it. Like, it actually was applying in different ways. We did have guest speakers pretty much every day. We had people from the state board of forensics. She came in, she actually has a big background in anthropology and paleontology.
Yes.
So she has a completely different background.
But she does ballistics.
So she naturally does ballistics, so she talked about a whole bunch of different things. We had Timmy Murray come in with the Westlake Police Department. And she does a great job. She's great. So she has so much to teach them and talk to them about it.
We had an FBI agent come in. We had the K-9 officers here, both former West Haven students, I have to say. They did a phenomenal job with the dogs outside. Incredible. They did the drug sniffing. They did the weapon, finding the weapon outside. They were fantastic.
We had a turn.
We had an attorney. Yeah, so we tried to do that too, is get them in here. So the kids just loved it. And we're hoping that the students that were in the first week this past year returns, hopefully we have it next year, returns next year for the second week. They know it's different. They don't know how it's different. We didn't escape the room with the first week, but not the second week, because some of those students were with us last year. And they had to apply all their skills that they had gathered throughout the week, you know, learning how to make fingerprints, how to identify fingerprints, and how to use all of those different skills and apply to actually escape the room. So
all the students got like a set of handouts and stuff. So the crime scene, everything we did, they had information in it. So we're like, all right, here are the fingerprints. Now let's look at the fingerprints collected at the crime scene, and let's match them up. Let's see this. Let's look at the blood types that you guys have. They match up. So everything we went back to the actual crime scene. And by the end of the week, our last kind of hurrah was we were like, all right, so who, like, what do you think happened? And kids gave me a little ideas of what happened. And then they were actually spot on.
yeah, there was one team dead on, and it was fun, but.
But that's, we kind of wrapped it up and we were able to kind of figure out who, the always made stuff like the bodies and all the information. So it really kind of fits every day.
I heard you say that you asked a lot of former West Haven high school students to come back, but I also heard you say she. Was that intentional that you chose some of the speakers to be women so that girls could identify with them?
We
Not, that was great.
We actually do that, but we actually do have a lot of the guest speakers
who are women. And in fact, we started here at the high school last year, the criminal justice speaker series. In the speaker series, we get someone in every single month to talk to the students that are in the cohort. And we had a female federal marshal. I had two of my girls last year after the female federal marshal came and taught. They were like, oh my God, Mitchell, that's what I want to do. And I'm like, that is fantastic. You know what I mean? Like that's what we want to do, is open their eyes to fields that they don't even know exist. This year, I know that we have a forensic entomologist come and talk to our students in October. So, you know, they see CSI and they think it's this, you know, one person does everything. And the whole idea is to let them know whether they go into the criminal justice field or they sit on a jury. You know, we don't need any more armchair forensic scientists and juries. We need people that really understand the science. So for us, it's so important to get our students involved in this and for them to see Tammy Murray, female. You know, the person from the crime lab, our Marion crime lab, female. You know, it just is an eye opener for a lot of our girls, and they need that. They need that to identify.
And I hope my comments didn't
No,
like put down that boys are interested.
no.
But I feel like they are traditionally more. I feel like we do have a lot of that men are in.
We do.
Mary got it. She
Yeah.
couldn't make it clear.
Yeah, but she was great. Yep, state prosecutor, you know, those things. And we want those females here to represent, and the males, you know, because we want our students to identify with someone in the field.
I think I overtalked something. But I think what you're, we weren't speaking for me, but just as a conversation, I think there's always that conversation. And I've heard it from other teachers, and saying is it's always important for those students to have someone to identify with. So when we have a population of 75% students of color, you know, are we being intentional about having people of color in these fields as well? So not just women, not just, but like, just being.
And we have our, the FBI agents is a person of color. We have had state police officer, person of color, because again, that's important, and we agree with you. It is, it's that diversity, and we want all of our students to feel like they have a place in criminal justice in one level or the other. So.
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to introduce Michelle Lonsdale. She is a math coach at South School. And this was her first year as director of our extended school year program, which is for students with an IEP that is based on a key decision that we qualify for this. I will say, Michelle took on a lot in the first year. Typically, we have around 200 students who qualify for our extended school year program. This year, we had close to 250 students. So she really.
Good evening, my name is Michelle Lonsdale, with Director of ESY. I'm happy to say that we had a very successful turnout for ESY this summer. We did have 202 students who ended up coming, which was our largest turnout ever for ESY. We had 48 teachers, 47 paras. We also had nurse, speech and language pathologists. We had our ACEs, PCBAs, our Ts. And we also this year, for the first time, had West Haven High School workers. They came over and they looked out and they were wonderful. And I think that's great that they're getting to see the younger students, and well, we had students pre-K through 12, but they worked a lot down in our preschool, and they were fabulous with helping out. So that was great. I also have to applaud all of our staff, our teachers, PROs, anyone who was working. Every time I went around, you know, coming off the past few years of teaching, it's been a lot on the teachers, but they were teaching, they were working hard. Every room I went in, the students were happy, either whether they were learning or doing a craft. It was great to really see that they had the energy they did for working for summer school. I also have to thank our People Services Department as well as Mel, our early childhood coordinator, collaborating with them, I believe is what really helped make this a success this summer. This year, we also had a couple of new things. We had reading teachers, thanks to Colette. We had Mary Ellen Stewart and Kelly Donovan Carew. Chris and Scanlon did join us for the last week, but they were great. We had a schedule that they followed and they went around to the classrooms. Sometimes they pulled a couple of students, sometimes they pushed in. We also had a gym teacher this year who focused on Mel, motion enhanced learning, and that went very well. They had a schedule, so the classes were able to go down. We had a lot of visitors. We had the K9 dogs. We had fire department. We had ASB gym. We had Eli Whitney that came and did a bubble program. We had Tatiana Travis who signed with the students. We do our school parade every year. So our theme this year was Animal Kingdom. So the students work with their teachers to create a costume, and then we parade around the school and they get to all watch each other and see everyone. We do a book fair, so we did from Read to Grow. We asked for a donation and then we set up a book fair for the students. And the last day we had a dance party. So yeah, we also did this year because our theme was Animal Kingdom. We did a collection of food and we donated it to the State of New Hampshire. That's it.
I'm excited to hear that the student workers worked out so well. So I think it's beneficial for them to be able to pocket money, but then also it gives them an opportunity to learn. So glad to hear.
Yeah.
They were, I think I saw it on everybody's slide.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to step in front of that, so to stay. So this, when we started writing the ESSER grant, and we wanted to focus on what we were going to offer for summer programming. Never in a million years would we have come up with a number of programs that have erupted from the creativity of our staff. So this was really a labor of love. You know, staff got involved and they just created these things based on their own interests, student dictated interests, and student need. And I think that when we look at the outcomes that we have as a result, it really speaks for itself because we've highlighted the things that our teachers do so well, and we brought the kids in. You know, the attendance was great. We could get as much interest in attendance and engagement in the school year as we get. As soon as summer ends, everybody wants to come back to the buildings. So, you know, taking these, you know what happens, they close and they're knocking on the doors. So I think once you look at kind of what kids realize about learning, I think they bring that with them into the next school year. And I think that's why these programs are growing. I think it's why we're seeing engagement increase since the pandemic, is these programs really have engaged students. I think they're doing exactly what they intended to do. The West Haven Community House they'd be here, but they are furiously writing another grant because they are collaborating to do an SEL program with us this school year after school at both Carrigan and Bailey. So they're tasked with writing right now. So I'm here to tell you that their program is very successful. They were able to make about 80 slots available this summer to our students, incoming first through fourth. They offered anything, everything you could think of. They did a lot of hands-on science, project-based learning. They did painting. They planted. Every time I saw them, they were running to the next thing, and the kids were thrilled. A lot of our kids returned. So this camp was a grant that I wrote last year and collaborated with them. They wrote it this year and unfortunately get funding for next year as well. So it's growing, and the kids who attended before were invited back, and based on need, and the students and the counselors generally, social workers, staff at the buildings made recommendations. They're kids that maybe just needed a little push for the summer, and they were in. So again, I think that when you listen to how passionate everybody here is about what they do, it really speaks to kind of what happens when you let the process kind of unfold naturally. And it really is, it's a huge success, and it's really all due to what everybody brought to the table. So Colette pushed into a lot of programs this year. And I think that we, based on her ability to get into where the students who had needs were, and the data she collected, I think we set kids up for success this year relative to their literacy as well. Okay, so reading. we're the only one that's mandated by the state. In Public Act 6620, they have mandated that we have to offer a summer reading program, but it's very hard to do a summer reading program on its own, so it was very sort of behooved us to sort of embed ourselves into existing programs and offer reading, because 40 minutes of reading instruction a day is about all a kid can do anyway, and then they want to do other things. So what we did was we were in the EL camp in the extended school year, and those were, I had all certified reading specialists working in all the programs. You had to have the reading certificate to be able to work in the summer program. In the extended school year, the teachers sort of picked their own materials to teach, to do read alouds and whatnot. With the EL program, they used whatever materials were available and they adapted them. But when we got to Community House, what we did was, it was 5 weeks, and what we used were our already purchased literary resources. We were able to organize the students by their reading levels that they had on their exit at the end of the school year, so we used that data, and then we kept data on the kids so that we would know where they were, and then we turned those folders over to the teachers this year. So the teachers who have those students now know where the kids were at the end of, well, midway through the summer. So that there was, the whole hope is to stop the summer slide, which is sometimes it can be 2 to 3 months of loss, learning loss, particularly in reading. And one of the quotes I have is about longitudinal studies that indicate the effects of summer learning can sustain for over a 2-year period. So rather than have them lose, we actually have them gaining through all of these different programs. And I have some information from the teachers. They thought the groups were small enough, particularly at the community house, they were able to work with the kids from 30 to 40 minutes at least 2 to 3 times a week. So those kids got a lot of individualized instruction. And a lot of them felt that it was very important for certain students who were selected to go to the community house to have that extended summer learning. So, questions?
So I know we have a whole lot of support for students who need additional help with reading skills. Do you also offer outside or individual attention for kids who are over benchmark for reading skills? Like, I'm only asking this like way back in the day when I went
Like enrichment?
St. Haley. Yeah, I used to go to Mrs. Ricky. She was like the advanced reading teacher. We would go like twice a week to her room. So I didn't know if that was something that was still offered or if we did it in.
Ideally, everybody should be differentiating in their classroom. So high-level kids should be getting high-level material, kids who need support, that material, but SRBI is the period where we are doing that. That's what I mean. I know we're also offering, are we doing the enrichment program here? Yeah.
That's when the Legos actually started. So I meant more over like over the summer, where if there's a plan of doing that over the summer for kids who were, like for kids that are already.
We did pass that. We have learning packets. We always post reading lists. We always say, the number one thing you should be doing during the summer, read. That's it, really. And kids who like to read. You know, that's never the problem. It's trying to get kids who don't like to read to be more engaged or may need support. And I do think we were able to deliver it. So in 3 different ways. 2 they weren't passive, but they were more passive than the very aggressive community. Which, and I'm still waiting for the state to actually sort of explain what they are looking for in that public act, because they say it's required that I have to offer K through 5, some kind of summer reading program. So when I checked with the state, they said, that sounds like you're doing some kind of reading program. I'm like, okay. But I'm wondering if it's gonna be more formal as time goes by, because it's all part of this massive push to increase sort of reading instruction at an early level.
I can just say Chromebooks are pretty hard.
Oh, it's always, yeah.
At least I'll just with my two kids.
Yeah, it's always the one. All right.
Thank you.
So the ESSER funding specifically was for learning recovery and acceleration. So the programs that we planned were essentially targeting students who had either not been part of the school instruction or had had other needs that made it such that we knew that those kids needed the boost. Something I forgot to mention is that Mike Roscoe, who was someone who helped us kind of navigate the ESSER grant writing process when we first started this, came out because he would touch base with me every now and then. How are things going? Tell me about your programs. He's kind of he's the State Department of Education consultant now, retired superintendent. So I would tell him what programs are going. He said, I'd really like to conceive them because I think the model you guys have there is very unique in terms of how you reached out to students that have ID. And so he came out and they gave a show. He walked into forensics on a day where they had their bloody mannequin. Welcome to our state. We pulled out all the stops for you. But he really was so impressed. So there's a write-up coming from the State Department using Muskegon as one of the model districts for programming using the ESSER funding. So I thought that, again, this was all developed by the staff who work here. So I thought that was a huge, compliment to how this came together and the work that's put into it.
Thank you all. I think you all did that job. I got choked up before I'm proud of it. So I just want you to know how much we appreciate all your hard work. I don't know if it's always told to you or hear that from us, but we absolutely do. We think that you do that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you think that's the only barrier, or is time a barrier as well? I think time is a barrier. I think there's also just, don't have the, physical space for.
The issue really at Bailey mostly because, it's overcrowded. But I also have to say, yes, we can get the superintendent, and we get staffing. But right now I have at the high school 2 science openings that I was not able to fill. My science teachers are teaching 6 classes. And at Bailey, I have a science opening that I was not able to fill just because even every art student, as you know, the kids that are going through art had a job this year. So it's very difficult. Math, we have a math teacher, what is 2? We have 2 at Bailey that we are not. So it's phenomenal what Maria is saying. And I know that we would get the support from Judy and Neil, but it's also very difficult for the science and the math positions to be filled. So obviously we have to fill those positions first before we can go to our STEM. This year, Jeannie Bayuso is actually doing the STEM elective at Bailey, and we do have 1 room we can use it, but we can't offer it to every student. Staffing is an issue, not just because we don't have the room, but also we can't find the staff. And we're not the only district in this position. I think actually we're luckier than a lot of districts. Like, New Haven has a lot of openings there. So that is definitely, hopefully within the coming years, these shortage areas go away, but science has been a shortage area since I started. I've been here 26 years, so it's very difficult because you're a chemist, you go into research. A lot of times you don't go into teaching, That's what it is. But at the high school, we do have projects underway. So the student, and we do have a forensic cohort. So we do have a lot of programs that address a lot of these areas. We just wish we could move them.
So it's probably not PC for me to ask this question, but do you think that it's just because it's a shortage area? Or do you feel that compensation? Please feel free.
Well, we do staff.
Yes,
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna be brutally honest, I lost the science teacher. Because they.
This is, we need a year for us to be able to present this on behalf of, you know.
We lost a veteran teacher from Bailey for science to New Haven. It was a $10,000 sign up bonus and $15,000.
And we lost that teacher to over.
Same.
Do we offer sign-on bonuses here? Do we offer referral bonuses here? Like if you bring in a teacher, do we offer referral? Okay, thank you.
I do think we can get creative down the road as the class size at elementary level. Where let's say I'm looking to go at a certain school and we have 5 grades, 5 master grades, or having flexibility in the house, utilize that staff member capacity to start something like that. It could be accomplished.
Especially with coding, there's no certification required for coding right now. So if they're tech app, like, right, it's mine. There are people that we could use for that. Okay.
And I had some nannies that was like, I didn't use her, they wanted to be there. Science, teachers, math, and all this. Yeah, it sounds like we're not getting the optimum return on our investment for purchasing those kids. Now they're sitting in storage. And I'm hearing this, that we have a lot of staffing issues and space. Is it something that we could maybe first utilize as an after-school activity and find someone who would be willing to do it that way and maybe then integrate it as an itinerary?
We could definitely, I don't know how, I haven't looked at the coding kits, because I did also the STEM Lego that we had at Bailey, and a lot of them are physics based, so we could definitely introduce some of those kids in the physics classes. But we can also do the enrichment after school and focus on that. And I think there was some of those kids last year were for them, for the.
I mean, I think that right now, technology is the future.
Oh, yeah.
Tech, it's the whole world.
Yeah.
I'm married to one, so I don't feel bad.
Or not.
But I have, you know, my oldest, she did the Lego camp, and my youngest did the forensic science camp. They both enjoyed the programs immensely. I know that they would benefit from, and Ethan said it in his little interview, that it was good knowing why we need to know this code. It was good knowing how what we're putting in code.org, how that applies to something tangible. So I think if we could.
I like the forensic stamp, why are we measuring something, they're using math to figure out the glass flaps.
Yeah.
And like, they don't even realize they're using the math.
I just think that they're, and I understand all the obstacles that we need to overcome as a board and as a district, but I do think that it is about conversation to have. How can we creatively expand our programming to include this technology, especially given the fact that we already own it, and utilizing it once a year for 5 or 10 days isn't necessarily the best return on our investment when we have it available to us.
Especially if it's obsolete by next summer.
Can I just add, when Joanne Trenchard and I were planning out the forensic, the 2 camps. So I have a lot of the materials that I use anyway and brought that into the camp. And thank you very much for the support, because we also got more materials like the forensic anthropology set, which was a huge purchase. But I can continue using that with my high school students at a higher level now. And that was the goal, so that we not only used it in camp, but also can continue to use it within our classroom.
And listen, I can't promise that I can fix any of those things, but if I don't have the information to try to push on that point, then, you know, so I appreciate the candid responses. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Sorry we had you so There's two issues that you're bringing up. You're bringing up summer, which is like, programs that are programs right to the school year, are utilizing resources that we. Two issues. Right.
Someone said they didn't even know they were learning. And I can attest to that because neither one of my kids had any idea that they were actually in something that was an academic or educational. And they, when I saw the kids interacting with each other and bouncing ideas, they were whiteboarding. And it was amazing to see the collaboration and this didn't work for me, but see, and let me see what your code looked like. And I really do think that there's a ton of value in integrating these programs into our everyday itineraries, because that's really the way. Oh, yes.
Sorry, Matt, thanks, sorry.
Poor Matt. We thought we were gonna be quick.
You were so interested.
Alright, so, the proposed budget for this fiscal year 22-23. The operating budget, the city council adopted the mayor's budget on June 13th. Later approved by the MAR, that the allotment level funded the board, last fiscal year, this fiscal year, so our local operating budget is $89,006,421. This budget allocation has no increase or changes over what we approved, or what you approved, in January, and it allows us to maintain our current staffing levels and program. Also, what we did in crafting this budget, when we had savings for teacher retirements and new hires, what we did was we changed the configurations of who we were paying out of our COVID grants to maximize those savings in those grants. So to help make sure they were able to stay without the grants. Here's the funding allocations, as you can see. Almost 80% of our budget is salary and benefits. Funding allocations and construction supports that just 5% of our budget. These are our additional funding sources. I showed this grant in January, but we had some more allocations come in. The Alliance grant came in at $9.9 million, a little less than we anticipated. Our IDA grant increased, which is a great thing because especially the population is quite a bit of money. But that shouldn't have any adverse effect on operating balance of the budget. We added this slide, it's the same slide that shows the breakdown between the individual cost sharing money against the state versus the share, the city funding. I think what's important to see on this grant is that from fiscal year, from this slide, that from fiscal year 2017, 2018 to now, that our local budget has only increased a little over $300,000, which is not a lot. This is just a graph that shows basically, ideally, we would like to see the local funds be a 50-50 split with ECS funds. It's not. Salaries, like I said before, when we went through the process of hiring new teachers, we saved about around $40,000 per teacher. At top step and lower step, and what we did is we looked to see who we had on the grants, and then we tried to switch things around, just so we were in a better position to spend our local budget fully, because that money is only good for this year, whereas the local grants that we still have remaining are good till September. One's good till September of 23, and the other's good till September of 24. So to try to capture that savings and make them last as long as possible, we thought would be beneficial to us. Special ed tuition, it's a very, very small increase over fiscal year that just ended, about 240,000. It's the same as the recommended budget. What I would just like to point out, I think this is a category that we really have to watch closely over the next few years. The number of students that we have outplaced at specialized facilities is much lower than it has been in years past. In the service department, great job, but the cost is still rising. What's interesting about these places is that they provide programs, some of them that no other school facility can offer, and they are also for-profit organizations. So there's no question that COVID had some impact on them. So it's going to be interesting to see if, the only way they can make their money back and their profits back is to up the tuition. And there's really nothing that can stop them. They could really raise it no matter whatever level they want. A few years ago, we had one particular place that raised their tuition cost 26% over a 2-3 year period. So things like that are going to be something that we're really going to have to watch, and it's out of our control, because if a child needs that particular program, we can't say no matter where our budget is, no matter if we're projecting to be $2 million overspent. The child moves into the district that needs to be outplaced at a cost of $100,000 or whatever it may be. We have to do it. We cannot say no financially. We can't afford it. These children need to be educated. It's just something that we're going to have to monitor, and it's going to have to come from other areas in the budget if it does continue to explode. Special ed transportation, the regular window contract is frozen for this year, so there's no increase to that, but there is a 2% increase in our transportation costs for our children who are outplaced. That's just to keep in line with the right process, gas, and many other issues. And then the remaining categories, benefits and fixed charges, operational plan, purchase services, and instructional supports remain level funded. So what it was last year and what approved in the recommended session. I also gave you a handout of our COVID funds. If you'd like to review this and ask me questions about it at a later date, we can do that. I'll take any questions on the board.
Thanks for giving us the
Honestly, thank you. And I think it's part of the growth of those that the last time we received the any sort of increase was actually 2015, 16.
Yeah.
Since then, it's actually gone down.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the ESSER, 2 and 3, there's nearly $30 million.
Yes.
So there's no new money. There's $30 million to cover other stuff. We'll be on the right. We're really 7 years, 7 years. We talk about, and I know,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
We talk about that before, we talk about loans, we talk about expansion. The next couple of years, it's going to be extraordinary.
Yes.
Big time struggle, just to keep it.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. I don't see additional funding sources coming down the line. But part of me also thinks I'm not sure how there won't be. I mean, there's towns that are much bigger than we are the Hartfords, the Bridgeports, the New Havens, the Stanfords of the world that got hundreds of millions of dollars in COVID funding. So I think this is going to be a statewide issue that a financial cliff was built and we operated in the guidelines of the grants that we were given. And it's something that I think every state is going to tackle. I think the good thing is that at least in the 5-year plan right now, the mayor and the city has a $1.8 million increase to our budget for the next 3 or 4 years. So I think that's something to be positive about, but something we need to be more. So that's going to be discussions to see where everything settles in once these COVID funds disappear and if nothing else presents itself.
I just want to, I'd like to see the board work with that and potentially break out a line item to show each back in the cleaning system. And then to get to a good point, because of children money. Transparency and disclosure, if we can figure out what that is for the yearly line item, create a separate line item for that. So everyone knows going forward that the board is committed to continue to contribute that there it is. It's a standalone account. So it's not part of some other piece of money that we're paying for this. Larger. It's just
Deferred maintenance is always the anchor around any municipal budgets, or like the Blackwood American City sites. Love that. Like, I don't know, it's not a blessing, but that COVID money enabled us to do so many things in our buildings that we would never have been able to do.
I don't want to see us so backwards. I like to see that, maintain our area.
To be honest, the first place that gets cut is the construction supports, those line items, because that's deemed discretionary spending, because everything else is basically contracts. And that you can't just break a contract, it's gonna have to come. Unless this really doesn't make sense for an educational system, but that's kind of just the way it is. But, I think that's definitely something that we need to keep our eye on. I think the next year, 2 years, we're in a very, very good financial place with these funds. And, I plan on acting. I don't plan on acting like those problems are in the future. I think we need to address things that we can address now and create savings that we can address as soon as possible and not delay the inevitable. And I think the exact same way. So I think we're definitely looking forward, while we also know that we are in a good shape to make improvements to our district.
I have a question. For the salaries, if I reallocate some of them to the ESSA funds are expiring, or we're no longer accessing them as a point to continue to provide those salaries without that additional funding from us, or with those people. And I understand a lot of those positions were the getting everybody back into the school and making sure everybody's test scores are appropriate, and we're closing that gap, especially for our students that were on full distance learning. But I think that need is not going to go away. I don't think that, in the next 2 years, there's going to be some sort of magic wand that we can wave and say, okay, we no longer need these additional rating coaches, this additional math support, the additional EL support. So is there a plan, or will we develop a plan to compensate for that lack of support and salary compensation?
Yeah, I mean, the plan is still developing. We're still trying to figure out what for lack of a better whole might be. But I think we need to be, I think we were this summer, like very strategic in when we have a retirement, what are we filling this job for?
Are we filling this job just to fill this job? Or could we fill this job to fix another area that might present a bigger issue with your sixth grade classes and stuff like that? So I think being strategic and Gora hiring and just not replacing one for one will help mend that gap. You know, I can't sit here and tell you that, you know, we'll be completely okay if it is a significant amount of money. But I think once we develop our plan and once we do the strategic hiring, I think we'll be in a good spot. Plus the added increases from the Alliance grant and hopefully the commitment for the city to increase our budget locally.
I think we brought that up too a couple times about attrition and, you know, hiring at a
Yeah.
lower step, when folks retire at a higher step and save some money there. And, you know, I think, like you said, have been very strategic in the hiring practices as folks have retired. So hopefully we'll be able to come to some kind of reasonable gap, but there's still gonna be a gap. You know, like you said, it's gotta be
Yeah.
addressed. Thankfully, at least in the 5-year plan, it looks like there's a little bit of address.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
But we just have to keep on top of it.
we put $30 million into a district that is only seeing $300,000 local budget increase in the past 5 years. I mean, it's really, and I think we spent our money very, very wisely. I think we've done a lot of very, very nice things to help the district in the long run. But, you know, the maintenance and maintaining the things that we put in place with these funds is also going to cost money. So, and part of the grant was one of the main things to focus on children that may be behind due to the pandemic. Greatest asset is the teacher. So I mean, there was specific language for us to hire an additional teacher. So trying to live within the rules of the grant while also being financially fiscally responsible.
I mean, I've heard President Markell, like, she did a grant and now we're doing us doing a grant. Are you not doing grants or, I mean, have another position that we have or?
I don't write grants for like public grants.
We're like looking for grants, applying for grants.
So-
or does it just like fall in our laps?
So the main grants that we have are mostly through the State Department of Education. And they have their own portal that we fill out the application. It's a team effort, Judy, Marissa, and myself. But a lot of the private grants, like the Gates Foundation or anything like that bigger districts like the Gates can get, we're sometimes not eligible for them. I know we're a bigger city, but sometimes we're too small for those big federal private grants that those seek. But we do not have a designated grant writer. The city does, and I'm sure the city grant writer would work with us, but we're limited in what grants we are eligible for through the state.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for, like, I love that people are looking for them and I love hearing that because just saying that the city grant writer might work with us, like, maybe we can be a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Progressive and like pursuing it and saying like, we know that we're gonna have a deficit. We need to actively be pursuing.
Sure.
looking for grants and not. Letting them pass us by.
Yeah, our teachers do a wonderful job of looking for grants to help themselves. I worked with Peter Sokas last year, and we got a grant for the Savernot Library from the Laura Bush Foundation. So I mean, if the teachers find something and they need financial help filling it out, they can always contact me. I'll help them at any way that I can. So that is actively happening. Thank you.
announcing what the hours. What sports, tennis sports, and everything. Will be more.
I'm gonna go back.
Speaking of signs, I noticed that, the new signage of is and we have these beautiful new signs that point people to where. So last time we met, we talked about the potential new lecture
Yes,
hall.
all those signage was approved
That's what I figured.
when it, because like all over there. it's easy to fix.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, I was like,
Yes.
because they good signs went up right after our meeting. and I-
Right. For a while, they got approved. So, there was a couple other issues.
I'm glad to hear it.
Also, I saw, the, athletic, achievement signs go up recently. They look really good. I saw a lot of pictures on our school athletics page, I think it was. I saw lots of kids who were super excited, and maybe not so much kids, but super excited to see their names, for their athletic achievements. Does anybody have a committee report?
Yes, the early childhood committee met earlier this evening and outlined our goals for the upcoming school year. They'll be in meeting. That's it. I hope that like, or you get them to whatever.
Didn't put them in minutes and if you have any questions. we'll go about that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the D1A Education Policy Committee meeting. First by Bob, second by. Anybody? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Any discussion? I do know that we have a couple of policies that need to come on our next agenda that we emailed out a little bit, upcoming in the next packet. Anyone else have anything? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. D1B, the regular Board of Education minutes from the August 15th meeting. I'll entertain a motion. First by Andrea, second by Ann. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstention? It's okay. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to accept D2 22-74 through D2 22-77 as well inclusive. First by Ann, second by Andrea. Any discussion?
I have a question, I'm sorry. When we receive resignations rather than retirement, are we conducting exit interviews to understand why we're losing these staff members?
Yes, you can start tracking if it's a financial. Yeah, I think that'd be great, because that way you have us more information.
Officially retired, not paid out. So sometimes it is a retirement, but it has to be qualified.
I think, to your point, I'd like to know how many of our. Yes, 1,000%.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any extensions? Thank you to those, for their service who are unfortunately leaving us. We wish them luck in their new endeavors. I'll entertain a motion for D3 22-78 through 22-84 as all inclusive. Which by Kim, second by Andrea. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any extensions? Carries. We have new business on our agenda tonight, D4 22-85. The West Haven Board of Education accepts the state project number 138-0156 RNB West Haven High School as complete. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
First by Bob, second by Patrick. Any discussion? Ken was before us last meeting and explained how everything was completed. So this is just so that we can get paid for the project. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hands abstained. Motion carries. The rest of the agenda is simple. Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. I meant to do that.
I forgot to say something, say, again, too.
I was.
Glad to walk out.
Absolutely.
You have to have it.
I'll entertain a motion to add a new agenda item under new business. It will be 22-86. Approve the operating budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes, since we're in it, since you left.
Reading more on the portion that closing for 22.
Thank you. Excellent. A second, Emma? Second by Kim. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Bob, thank you so much for reminding me of that. I would have kicked myself to that again. Well, that was just adding. A motion to accept. Thank you very much. First by Andreas, seconded by Ann. Any discussion on accepting? All in favor? Any opposed? Any extensions? Thanks for letting me know. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Sure, everyone's in favor. Thank you all for your input tonight.